I never thought I'd share this story. It's something I've kept buried for years, but maybe by telling it, I can finally let go of the confusion, the anger, and the betrayal that changed everything. It all started on a quiet summer night, the kind of night where nothing seems out of the ordinary, until it is. My mom was out of town visiting her sister for a few days, and I was home alone with my stepfather. I was 17 at the time, still trying to figure out life, love, and who I could trust. Back then, I never imagined that trust would be the first thing to break. Let me be clear, this story isn't about anything graphic or inappropriate. But it is about emotional betrayal, secrets, and the kind of infidelity that doesn't just break a heart, it shakes your whole world. My stepfather wasn't a terrible man, or at least that's what I used to think. He was charming in that quiet, confident way. My mom adored him. They had only been married for 2 years, but I could tell she thought she'd finally found the one. I wanted to believe that too. I tried. That night, I was lying in bed, scrolling through my phone, half asleep. Everything felt normal, until I heard the soft knock on my bedroom door. At first, I thought I imagined it. It was so light, like someone didn't want to wake me up completely. I sat up, my heart already racing a little. The door creaked open slowly, and there he was, my stepfather. He didn't say much, just stood there with this strange look on his face. I remember thinking, why is he here? My room wasn't some place he ever needed to be. Not at night. Not like that. I asked if everything was okay, and he said he just wanted to check on me. He stepped inside without really waiting for permission. I felt this knot form in my stomach. Something about the moment didn't feel right, but I couldn't explain why. I kept telling myself I was overthinking it, being paranoid, maybe just tired. He sat on the edge of my bed and started talking about my mom, about how hard things had been between them lately, about how he felt alone. I didn't know what to say. Why was he telling me this? I wasn't his friend. I was his stepdaughter. As he talked, I saw a side of him I'd never seen before. Vulnerable, yes, but also manipulative in a way that only became clear later. He wasn't there to talk. He was there for something else. And in that moment, it became very obvious he was crossing a line, not physically, but emotionally. And that's when the real story began. I won't lie, I felt trapped. I felt like saying the wrong thing would somehow make everything worse, but staying silent didn't feel safe either. He didn't touch me. Nothing like that happened. But the way he looked at me, the way he spoke, it was clear he wasn't acting like a father figure anymore. He was confiding in me like I was someone else. Like I was his secret. Like I was the one he wanted when my mom wasn't around. What happened after that night would unravel our family in ways I never saw coming. I started seeing things differently, little clues, odd behavior, late-night phone calls. And soon, I stumbled across something I was never supposed to see. Something that changed everything I thought I knew about my stepfather, and about my mom's marriage. And let's just say, what I found made that night in my room look like the calm before a storm I wasn't ready for. You won't believe what I discovered next. After that night, everything felt different. I couldn't look at my stepfather the same way. Something in his eyes, in his voice, it stuck with me. I started paying attention to things I'd usually ignore. Like how he always seemed overly curious about where I was going or who I was talking to. Or how he would linger a little too long during conversations. At first, I told myself it was just my imagination, that maybe I was being too sensitive. But deep down, I knew something was off. And the more I noticed, the harder it became to shake the feeling that I was right all along. It was a strange shift, really. My stepfather started acting like he wanted to be around me more than usual. Offering to make me lunch, asking me to watch TV with him, and always finding excuses to start small, awkward conversations. None of it was outright wrong, but it felt weird. And it made me uncomfortable in my own home. When my mom came back from her trip, I almost told her everything. But then I stopped myself. I didn't know how to say it without sounding dramatic or like I was trying to start trouble. She looked so happy to be home, so in love. I couldn't just shatter that for something that, at the time, I couldn't even explain. Still, I couldn't ignore the uneasy feeling. So I started keeping to myself more, locking my bedroom door, avoiding long conversations. But then came the turning point. One night, about a week after my mom got back, I was looking for her charger. She always kept it in her top nightstand drawer. While I was searching, I came across something else, something that didn't belong. A folded piece of paper with no name, no date, just a short message written in handwriting I didn't recognize. It read, "Last night was a mistake. We can't keep doing this." My stomach dropped. I froze. Who was this from? Was it meant for my mom? Or worse, did she write it herself? I put it back exactly how I found it and walked out of the room, my mind racing. I couldn't sleep that night. My head was spinning with questions. Had my mom cheated? Was he cheating? Or were they cheating with each other's friends? The possibilities felt endless, and each one more painful than the last. I wanted answers, but I was terrified to know the truth. Over the next few days, I started paying closer attention to how my mom and stepfather acted around each other. And suddenly, things that seemed normal before now looked suspicious. Forced smiles. Avoiding eye contact. Silent dinners. They weren't fighting, but they weren't really connecting either. And when my stepfather wasn't trying to get close to me, he was glued to his phone, always turning the screen away when someone walked by. That's when I decided to dig deeper. One evening when they were out grocery shopping, I searched the house, not to be sneaky, but because I needed to understand what was going on. I went back to that nightstand drawer, checking every paper, every note. I found more letters. Most were vague, but the tone was always the same, secretive, emotional, and definitely not friendly. And one of them mentioned me by name. I had no idea how far this went or who else might be involved. But one thing was clear, there were secrets in this house. Big ones. And I was about to uncover something that would not only confirm my worst fears but tear apart everything I thought I knew about my family. After finding the letters, I couldn't unsee the truth. There was something deeper happening between my mom and my stepfather, something hidden behind fake smiles and late-night whispers. But the worst part wasn't just the cheating. It was the feeling that somehow I was tangled in the middle of it. One of the notes had my name scribbled beside a line that read, "We can't let her find out." That hit me like a punch to the chest. What didn't they want me to know? Was I just caught in their messy game, or was there more to this than just infidelity? I started watching both of them more closely. My mom would leave the house often, saying she was running errands or going to work meetings, but she always seemed nervous before she left. My stepfather, on the other hand, acted cool and collected on the surface, but his eyes always looked like they were hiding something. I even noticed he started deleting texts as soon as he got them. Once, when I walked into the living room unexpectedly, he jumped and shoved his phone under the cushion. I pretended I didn't notice, but I made a mental note. A few days later, I decided to confide in someone I trusted, my best friend, Kayla. We'd known each other since middle school, and she was the only person who wouldn't judge me or tell anyone. I told her everything about the letters, the weird behavior, and that night my stepfather came into my room. Her face dropped the second I mentioned it. Then she said something I'll never forget. "I don't want to freak you out," she said slowly, "but your stepdad texted me once. Late at night. Like, super random." I thought it was weird but didn't want to make it a big deal. That changed everything. Now I wasn't just worried about my family falling apart, I was worried about who my stepfather really was. And why he was acting so friendly toward girls my age. Kayla even showed me the message. It was short, just a "Hey, what's up?" but the timing and the fact that he had her number at all, it felt wrong. Creepy, even. At this point, I was caught in the middle of two secrets, my mom's possible affair, and my stepfather's strange behavior toward me and maybe others. I didn't know if they were both lying to each other, or somehow lying together. I just knew I had to figure it out. Because the deeper I dug, the more I realized this wasn't just about love or betrayal, it was about trust, safety, and what really happens when the people you're supposed to rely on the most are the ones keeping the biggest secrets of all. And I hadn't even discovered the worst part yet. I couldn't sleep. Every sound in the house made me jump. I was living with two people who felt more like strangers every day, both hiding something, both pretending everything was fine. But I wasn't pretending anymore. I was done being quiet. I needed answers, even if they hurt. The turning point came one Saturday night. My mom said she was going to a work dinner, but I knew something was off. She was dressed way too nice for just a casual event, and when I peeked through the front window after she left, I saw her get into a car I didn't recognize. She didn't even notice I was watching. That was the moment I decided to finally look at my stepfather's phone. I'd never gone that far before, but I couldn't ignore the gut feeling any longer. I waited until he went into the shower, then carefully grabbed his phone off the table. It was locked, but I'd seen his passcode once when he typed it in front of me. My hands were shaking as I typed it in, 4 digits, and it opened. What I saw next made my stomach twist. There were messages. Lots of them. Most were deleted, but a few were still there, tucked in between normal texts. One contact was saved under a fake name, but the messages told the truth. "She has no idea," one said. Another read, "I can't keep doing this under the same roof." I scrolled faster, my heart pounding louder with every word. And then, I found one with a picture. It was blurry, dark, but it was clearly taken inside our house, and I was in it. Sleeping. My face barely visible under a blanket. I nearly dropped the phone. I couldn't breathe. That one photo said everything. This wasn't just about infidelity anymore. It was deeper. Darker. And now, I wasn't just a bystander in their lies, I was part of whatever secret he was trying to protect. I had no idea who to trust. But I knew one thing for sure. I had to do something. And whatever came next, it was going to change everything. I stood there frozen, still gripping my stepfather's phone, heart pounding in my ears. That picture of me sleeping, it wasn't just creepy, it was a violation. A quiet alarm bell in my head turned into a blaring siren. I put the phone back exactly where I found it just as the shower turned off. I slipped out of the room, pretending nothing had happened, but inside, I was breaking. I had to get out of that house. I texted Kayla, told her everything I saw, and asked if I could stay at her place for the night. She didn't even hesitate. But just as I was about to leave, my mom walked in through the front door, earlier than expected. She looked startled to see me by the door with a bag in my hand. Her expression changed from confusion to concern instantly. "Where are you going?" she asked. And that's when something in me snapped. I looked her dead in the eyes and said, "I know everything." She didn't even pretend to act clueless. Her face went pale. That silence between us lasted forever. Then she whispered something I wasn't ready for. "It wasn't supposed to involve you." My heart dropped. That sentence made everything worse. It confirmed that she knew. About the messages. About the lies. About me being in the middle of it all. And then, the second twist came, something I could have never predicted. She told me he wasn't just cheating on her, he was blackmailing her. Using secrets from her past, things she thought no one knew, to control her and keep her quiet. She said he had files, photos, even recordings, proof of things that could ruin her life. She didn't say how he got them, but it was clear she felt trapped. I realized I wasn't the only one being watched. We both were. And whatever I thought I knew about betrayal and family secrets, I was only scratching the surface. Everything started moving fast after that. My mom and I locked ourselves in her room, whispering like we were in some kind of spy movie. She showed me a hidden folder on her laptop, screenshots, voice recordings, even videos. She'd been collecting evidence for months, afraid to go to the police because he had something over her too. But after what happened, she couldn't stay silent anymore. Neither could I. We made a plan. The next day, while my stepfather was at work, we backed up everything onto a flash drive, into a cloud folder, even emailed it to Kayla for safety. That night, we confronted him. We didn't yell. We didn't cry. We just played one of the recordings out loud while he stood frozen in the hallway. His face changed in an instant, from arrogant to terrified. He knew it was over. He tried to talk his way out of it, but it was too late. My mom handed him the choice: leave quietly and never come back, or we go straight to the police with everything. He left. Just like that. No threats. No goodbye. The silence he left behind was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. We thought it was done. We thought we were safe. But a few days later, Kayla called me in a panic. Someone had broken into her house, only one thing was taken, the flash drive we sent her. No money, no jewelry, nothing else touched. My mom and I stared at each other, stunned. It was clear, we weren't just dealing with a cheating husband anymore. Someone else was involved. Someone who didn't want the truth to come out. And suddenly, we realized the story wasn't over. Not even close. After the break-in at Kayla's house, my mom and I knew we had to act fast. We handed over everything we had to the police, copies, emails, even the cloud backups. This was bigger than we thought. It turned out my stepfather had a history. He'd done something similar years ago under a different name, to another woman in another state. That's how he got the files on my mom in the first place. He'd been digging into her past from the very start, using fear to control her. But this time, he wasn't going to get away with it. The investigation took a few weeks, but eventually they found him. Not just him, someone else had been helping him, someone he worked with. They were running a small blackmail scheme, using personal relationships to get leverage. I couldn't believe how close we'd come to being trapped in something much darker than just a cheating scandal. It was emotional abuse. It was manipulation. And we had almost missed it. In the end, he was arrested. Charges were filed. And my mom? She finally got her peace. We moved to a new place, just the two of us. Kayla stayed in my life like a sister. I started therapy, trying to unpack everything that had happened. I still wake up sometimes remembering that night he entered my room, thinking about how different things could have turned out. But if there's one thing I learned, it's to always trust your gut. Pay attention to the little signs. Secrets have a way of slipping through the cracks. And sometimes, the truth is the only thing that can set you free.